Good evening, America. Welcome back to Contra-Dictions, episode 23 here on Monday night. Coming to you live. We have a special guest tonight. King Brad will be joining us. But first, let me say, hey, thank you for tuning in tonight. We know you could be anywhere, but you chose to be with us. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. Leave some comments. We will address them later in the show. You can always hit us on any of the media outlets, Instagram, YouTube, email, Facebook, Twitter, any of them, and we'll get back to you. All right, and you'll see them later in the bottom. We'll be showing all our handles. So let's get to it. King Brad, man, welcome to the show. We're glad to have you. How you doing, man?
Hey, man, I'm enjoying the glass of red. I'm good, man. Looking forward to the discussion tonight.
Super, man, super. All right, so let's bring in Glenn. Glenn, how you feeling, boss?
What's up, gentlemen? I'm feeling fantastic. Happy Monday. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Ready to get into some of these topics of discussion as usual. We got a special guest in the building this evening. We got Mr. Brad. We're going to talk about a little bit of the Louisville militia going on in terms of Breonna Taylor. We got a lot of things to talk about. So glad to be here. Happy Monday, gentlemen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Kenny, what you doing, boss?
What's up? Now I got two King Bees, which he called me on one time. But just so people that don't know, King Brad's got a show called The Ventilators. They've had me on a couple times, so I appreciate that. Shout out to their fans. They'll be trickling in, I'm sure. We'll see them in the comments section. Appreciate King Brad being here tonight, and I look forward to getting into this. Let's do it.
Sweet. So let's start off, man. We got the NFAC, right? The Black Militia in Louisville.
NFAC. We got NFAC, the Not Fucking Around Coalition.
Oh, yeah. Shit.
Yep.
Damn. They're not deep.
So we got NFAC. They are the same African American or Black militia that marched down in Stone Mountain, Georgia, and they protested Stone Mountain, which is actually the largest Confederate and KKK shrine in the world, not just the country, but the world. It's in Stone Mountain, Georgia, hence the name Stone Mountain, Georgia. It's literally a stone mountain that has enshrined for KKK members and slave owners. So they were the ones that a few weeks ago marched down in Stone Mountain. They're also the same people that marched this past weekend in Louisville, protesting the injustice of Breonna Taylor. They are demanding answers. They are demanding that all of these police be arrested, brought up on charges. One of them, actually, Grandmaster Jay, who is the leader of NFAC or NFAC, actually said, "We are going to burn this mother down," quote, and then the rest of the militia all repeated after him, "We are going to burn this mother down if they do not get answers." They were in Louisville, and they said that they have no issue coming back to Louisville in 4 weeks. 4 weeks was the allotted time that was given to the Louisville local authorities to get some answers together. And NFAC, and I guess NFAC is hypothetically speaking for the Black community and saying we are not waiting any longer. What do you guys have on that?
Having said that, right? So we're gonna get Kenny and King B back in here, but I wanted to make sure. So what happens if they don't get the resolution they're looking for? Kenny, what do you think?
Oh, well, first of all, I wanted to address a couple of points. The four guys on there were Confederate leaders. They weren't all Ku Klux Klan members. So,
three out of the four were. But yeah,
so
yes.
the guy that carved it out was, but there's varying details on the other ones. Robert E. Lee was he fought for the North and the South. So there's some complex discussion there. But this group, first of all, I think we can just wait them out because they've already shot 3 of each other. So if we just wait long enough, fumbling around with guns, they'll maybe just take care of them all. No, I mean, here's the thing. Clearly, there needs to be some solution to the Breonna Taylor thing. I'm okay with that, and I hope that something does come of it. But the focus needs to be in the right area, and that's my argument with this situation the whole time, is that the police officers themselves, I just don't see a whole lot that they did wrong in that circumstance. I think it's the higher-ups. The higher-ups need to be held accountable. They were the ones that screwed the warrant up. A police officer opens the door and gets shot at. He's going to shoot into the house. Like, I don't know what we expected to happen there. That was a leadership problem. The chief of police should be fired. Unfortunately, he's Black, so that's not going to go over well. But it's the chief of police. It's the judge that signed off on it. Those people should be held to task. I think pointing out the police officers is, I mean, a police officer's told, hey, you're going to serve this warrant. You go in to serve the warrant. They shoot at you. You're going to shoot back.
Right on. So, hey, King Brad, let me get your input right now before we go any further with any more questions or next steps. All right. So, what do you think's going on? What do you got for us?
Well, first off, Kimmy, I like the little joke you made. I mean, that was funny. He. As you know, ex-military. You know, these are ex-military shooters, so they're trained. It actually did happen, but I don't think we should hold them to any lesser standard for what they're trying to do for Black people in the Black community. They don't have any ties to the Black Panther, even though I can see the correlation that a lot of people are going to try to make. I definitely think what Jay Johnson is doing, Grandmaster Jay, what he's trying to do, I think is definitely needed in the Black community. I have no qualms about who they are and what they're trying to do. They actually escorted the sister of Rayshard Brooks in Atlanta not too long ago. You know, it's no different than the NOI. I think anytime you have people that you can turn to for protection, for security within your own race, I think it's needed. You know, white people have had this type of privilege for a long time, and it's great for Black people to have it now. And that's my opinion on that. You're muted, Fred. You're muted. Okay.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna bring in the other guys right now. Kenny, Glenn, any feedback on those opinions?
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that. So first of all, and I told Glenn this before, when they're in Stone Mountain strapped up to the gills with guns, I have no problem with that. I think your Second Amendment rights and your First Amendment rights go hand in hand. So I thought there was some intimidation. They did at a couple points in there that I think is, but there's individual one-offs in every situation. So I wouldn't hold anybody, the leadership or anything accountable. You know, I hope that if they're trying to get pushed certain legislation, and again, I've had this discussion with King Brad before and Glenn on this show, it has to be well defined so that we can actually get legislation that can push things forward so that we can come together. Because I think if you clearly outline a plan that is actually a plan, then I think there's going to be more people than people would think coming together, especially if you have multiple open minds to trying to find a solution to it.
Glenn?
Yeah. So, so just to touch on that really quick, you know, I agree. I think that, you know, spot on with what King Brad said. I definitely think that there are other races and ethnicities that have enjoyed the protection that their own people provide for them. And I think now for the first time, at least in our lives, we're finally starting to see Black people, African Americans, unify, come together as one, protect our own. Everybody had something to say when white people got guns and marched up to government buildings during the pandemic. But at the end of the day, they had their right to do that. And I said, don't be mad at them. How about you look at them as an example of how they were willing to be organized, exercise their Second Amendment right, go and protest at government buildings and ensure that the rights of their wives, their daughters, their fathers, brothers weren't going to be violated because they were exercising the Second Amendment right. So that's what we have going on here.
So Glenn, I do got to call you out though, because when that happened, when the white guys stormed the building and had the guns on them, you and many others, you weren't the only one. So many others were saying there's no way they would ever let Black people walk around like that in groups, and they would shut them down. They would get shot. They would get killed. No way.
So this is the difference, and because the reason I was saying that is because in the past it has happened where Blacks have gotten together, and it wasn't really as organized as what you see with the NFAC, but Blacks have gotten together armed, and it hasn't gone well. So I was going off of past experiences there. Fair
enough, and you did bring up that it comes down to organization, which is actually funny because that was one of the first discussions I had with King Brad on the Ventilator show was without the organization, nobody, like people, right. I think, believe it or not, people, I think because it's a hard edge in terms of, you know, not fucking around, coalition, right? It's a little bit harder edge that I think some people will take a while to, you know, white people will, but if it's well outlined in what they're trying to accomplish, and if they go, hey, this can work, if it's a substantiated argument that they're making, then I think, you know, things can be made forward. Now, I will tell you, as the white guy on the panel, that poor white people.
It's even. All right, there's 2 whites and 2 blacks.
Well, Fred's the moderator. But the poor white people have never had anybody to defend them. So I'm not saying that.
Stop, knock it off. Don't do that.
No, that's true. That's true. See, and again, we've had that discussion before. White people are not a culture. So this idea that we've been protected by somebody, this guy hasn't, and neither has.
I'm from Dayton, Ohio.
Okay.
Which is close to Indiana. Knock it off.
What's that mean? I don't know what that means.
Say anything. That's all I need to say. Knock it off.
No. I think he's trying to imply that he's been around a lot of white people and he's seen it.
Yeah, but they to be protected by who?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that's culture, though.
Give us some names.
Yeah. I'm not gonna give you names. We could just start with the police.
The police have never helped me. I'll tell you this. I called the police and got arrested and got 4 charges. So I ain't the one the police are helping out.
I've actually seen white people get into confrontations with police officers, and the police officer actually said, talked them down and had conversations with
I've
them.
never
Protect and serve.
And I bet you there's some black guy that's happened to too, but that's not typical. If I talk shit to a police officer, he will throw me. I got arrested in Ocean City. We had Lark on the show with Glenn and Fred. He even was there, saw it. I said a derogatory comment. I got my ass thrown in jail, and I wasn't arrested.
Do you mind telling us what you was it? No, it was a derogatory comment about
a female.
Black people, or was it just
about
women?
black people? I said a bitch.
Oh, you said a bitch. Okay. You say
it was a female cop.
It was a female cop. There was a fight broke out. I wasn't even involved. This fight breaks out between people I don't even know. I see this bouncer getting his ass kicked, so I just try to help to kind of like pull people off. Well, the cops just pull up, and we're sitting there, and everybody's trying to fight me because neither side thinks I'm on their side, right? So I'm sitting there dodging stuff. I'm like, where the hell are the police at? Like, I had seen the police. I was like, oh, I'm going to help. Police are going to come in. They're going to protect and serve. No, they threw my ass in the back of a paddy wagon with drunk and disorderly.
They're scared, bro.
I didn't even have anything to drink. Then they're driving like a-holes. I'm tumbling around the back of the thing. And then they locked me up for 3 days. And then they charged me. Like I said, they charged me with drunk and disorderly. I never got a breathalyzer. And I didn't even have a drink that night. I was actually coming to pick somebody else up.
Okay.
And so this lady came in like the last second. I'm walking back to my car and she goes, y'all need to get in your cars and get out of here. And I was like, bitch, where were you? I was just breaking up the fight. I've been waiting for you. I get in the car. She opens up the car door, pulls me out. I'm not going to fight her.
Yeah. I think you, I love you, man, but I think you go back and forth between your white privilege and your black connections.
I'm just still waiting for my white privilege. I'm waiting for that joint to come through in numbers. I'm just so due for it. The times I've been I just want one time police officer to go, hey, sir, how's your day going when he pulls me over? Just once. And then when I give him my stuff, I just want him to be nice to me once.
Well, maybe it's the music you're playing when he pulls you over that's giving him a little indication.
I'll tell you this, and Brad, I've made this joke on this show before, but I'm going to tell you the truth. You want to know what a racist cop hates worse than a black guy?
Is a black guy that likes black culture.
No, a white guy that thinks he's black. Yeah, you think he's gonna beat you down? Wait till he puts that extra boot in my ass.
So Glenn, you brought up that in fact they want a solution in 4 weeks, right? So what solution do they want? And if they don't get that exact solution, are we still gonna have violence? If they do have like a guilty, but it's not the exact one they want, are we still gonna have some violence?
Well, this is the thing. So let's kind of talk about it because they didn't really say exactly what was going to happen. Again, like I talked about in the beginning of the segment, they were chanting, "We are going to burn this motherfucker down." So that's what they were chanting, and I guess I'm assuming that if they don't get the answers that they feel are necessary within the next 4 weeks, that they did say that they would be back, that they don't mind coming back at all. The quote was, "We don't mind coming back in 4 weeks." And we will burn this motherfucker down. So that, I don't really know exactly what that means. Are they talking about literally burning something down?
They want justice.
Answers. I mean, and well, of course, but justice is subjective. I mean, so
right.
what are they?
That's what I'm trying to get at. What is if I don't know what the
do you know, Kenny, have they said anything? I mean, I Googled it. I tried to find it.
Is arrest the officers. Just arrest the officers.
Well, arrest the officers. I think they want the officers arrested. But this is the thing, and as much as I hate to agree with Kenny on this, I do kind of agree with Kenny that I don't think. I mean, officers have to do their job and carry out their duties. I think there's a lot of other turning wheels behind law enforcement that make these calls. And to send officers in guns blazing, no knock warrant. I mean, I think there's a lot of other people that need to be held accountable outside of the officers. Unfortunately, like Kenny said, the chief of police, who really kind of would be at the center of someone that would be held accountable, is black. So it really doesn't look good. Again, I know that it's easy to look at situations like this and just automatically want to put race into it. But I really don't think a black chief of police was thinking, let me send these cops in to kill my black sister. I just don't see it happening. I don't, and I'm not saying race wasn't a part of it, but there's not 100% concrete evidence to say that it was. We can assume, and it sounds good, and not only does it sound good, but it feels good. As a black person, it actually feels better to make it about that. And maybe that is what it was about. I'm not saying that it's not. We just don't have 100% evidence to say that that's 100% what it was about. Especially since the chief of police is black.
So let's have some due process. Let's arrest these officers and put them through the due process until we can do some investigation and figure out what actually really transpired.
Or instead of arresting the officers, why don't we let's arrest the DA, let's arrest the lead investigators, let's arrest the chief of police and do due process that way.
And the judge.
But either way, I'm cool with. Either way, I'm cool with, because Brad, don't get me wrong, I don't really like the police. So you arrest the police and do due justice, I'm cool with it. You want to arrest the upper heads, the executives, and do your due diligence and due process, I'm cool with that too. I'm kind of just playing devil's advocate here, because at the end of the day, police officers are really just puppets. I mean, I'm not talking about a Ray Shard Brooks.
It would be different if he walked in and shot her a couple times while she's on the ground. I mean, that would be a different circumstance. But as long the police officers should only have to defend themselves to protocol. That's it. The upper hands, because we've had long discussions, Brad, you tell me what part of this that you believe is racist so that I can understand what you're saying.
It's something you can't really explain. It's just something you know and you feel based off of growing up in an environment, being so close to Louisville. I'm born in Cincinnati, grew up in Dayton, Ohio. I mean, anybody who knows that geographic, you understand the dynamics in that area. It's just something you know, Kenny.
Okay, so let me. Sorry, go ahead. Let me just ask a follow up to that, because this is the discussion that me and Glenn had on the show. So I'd love your input. What Glenn said was, do you think, he was asking me, he said, do you think that they would come in and have shot the place up like that, if a white person was in there? And I said, well, did they live in the same house? Would they have shot Breonna Taylor like that in Manhattan? Do you think they would have shot me? Of course not. So if it was just color.
So I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you made that depiction, Kenny, because real quick while we got Brad on here. Mm-hmm. So Brad, you just shook your head no to if Breonna Taylor was in a white suburban Manhattan, she wouldn't have been shot either, right? So look, again, as a black person, I'm looking for some racial shit. I'm looking for the racism, right? But again, in this situation, and I'm more like 60-70% thinking that it's racial, right? So just to be clear on that. But had Breonna Taylor been in a white neighborhood, she probably wouldn't have been shot either. So at that point, you have to say, okay, maybe this isn't racial, but more so economical or classism.
That's racial because you're
no. Race has to deal with race, brown, black. It doesn't deal in dollars.
Yes, and I would agree, Brad. I think where you're going to go with this is that racism is certainly a portion of that due to the amount of people in that demographic. That is, you can connect those two, but it's not the same.
That's why I say it's innate. Mm-hmm. It's innate. Like no disrespect to you, Kenny, but it's innate. Like when something is racial versus something that is protocol. yes, they might have been doing their job, but you know when it's an extra authoritative to it. Like, you get it, you understand. And like I said before, I'm all for police officers doing their job if they are properly and adequately trained and they do it to the best of their ability to protect and serve. But when they use their authoritative power and misuse it, then I have to say it has to deal with race.
And being on the side of having that happen to me before, right? And I couldn't figure out why they were using this authoritative power. And so to me, my belief, and again, this is based on all my life experience, is just simply that when you have power, you tend to abuse power. It's one of the reasons why I'm libertarian, because I don't like giving big government power, because the more power you have, the more power you act with. I mean, it's the same thing with people that are destroying in the streets. That progressed to that because the more power that they had, the more they can wield that power. So power structure is always going to be a dangerous thing. But I just think the focus, like, I like Glenn's idea. To be honest with you, I really wish whoever signed the warrant and whoever had the warrant signed, go arrest those two. Arrest those two, because due process actually starts from the minute you get Mirandized. So the idea that these guys, we don't know what they, whether they've been Mirandized, been discussed with, been detained. All I know is that those two guys, the guys that signed off on the warrant, we've read the warrant on this show before and gone through all the things they said. You had all this information and you came up empty. And so since you came up empty, you should be held responsible. And someone died when you came up empty.
Roll. You know those heads are not going to roll.
So we're going to roll two people who, again, let's say it was me and you, Brad, and we're going in there because we're told to, and we're police officers and we love our family and we're good people. We're not racist. We come in the door and somebody shoots at us, and we're taught to lay, let's say, I don't know, every department has their own thing, but we're both taught to shoot 6 times and then take cover and listen for a backfire. After that first shot comes through, we both shoot our 6. We sit, we wait. There's nothing. We walk in. Breonna Taylor's dead. Me and you should go to jail for murder. When we didn't sign this warrant. We didn't even want to be here.
I think it was Glenn who said police officers, if I misquote, are puppets, or somebody said that. I don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So that's inadequately trained, because anytime that you are not sympathetic or empathetic to your situation, because at the end of the day, we all want, if you're a cop, you want to make it home, correct? You want to make it home, and you have to use some type of IQ to figure out a situation. So we can't just have cops who are puppets.
So I think that's a great statement, like a traffic stop. But these guys were told they're going into a drug-infested environment.
Yeah, they're telling that they're told that these guys are going to have guns.
No, go ahead.
I'm just saying, what do you do personally, Brad? If me and you kick the door in because we're supposed to go first, the guy shoots at you. You do what?
Well, first off, let's
try to talk him down.
Let's be clear. The guy shoots at us. Yes, he's probably trying to defend his life. But we don't. I'm gonna let you talk.
No, hold on. But I just want to make sure we clearly identify what me and you have been told is that there's this long list that we are going to go into. Me and you are going to go into this drug home that's got all these guns and drugs in it. So you think when we kick in the door, the first thing we're thinking is this person's defending their house?
Yes.
No, that's what me and you think if we walk in my neighbor's house.
Because you know why? I have common fucking sense.
But that's not common sense. That's actually extremely naive. If you're going into a home that you have a warrant and 26 charges on the front of it, and you're going, well, if I kick in this door, they're going to shoot me because they're trying to defend their home.
Absolutely.
That's not realistic.
No, it's realistic.
The idea is they're going to shoot you to kill you because you're in their house, period. If it's a drug house and they got guns.
So again, it's situational, right?
Anybody wants to take on the police?
No. What do you mean? Does anybody want to take on the police?
Do you think that anybody who kicks into their home, do you think that their mind is, I'm gonna take on the police. I'm gonna go ahead and shoot my way out of this? Do you think anybody?
Lots of happens all the time. That people.
But nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. What Brad is saying is nobody wants that. Nobody wants a shootout with the police, right? But again, Brad, this was in the middle of the night, and just to be clear, kind of like what Kenny was saying, this was in the middle of the night. The door gets kicked in. Kenny Walker, the husband of Breonna Taylor,
boyfriend shoots
potentially a warning shot, if you will, and He doesn't even know that it's cops. He doesn't know that it's cops. He doesn't know that it's
Which just so Brad knows because he hasn't been on the show, from day one, everybody here was in support of Kenny Walker shooting that shot. We all didn't ask him to get out of jail. We all wanted him to get out as quick as possible. We were all happy when he got out and had no charges. None of us had a single beef with that. So just so you know. But go ahead, Glenn. Sorry.
Yeah, no. So, I just wanted to, I just want to make sure that as we're talking about this, because there is a lot of nuance, that we understand the specific situation specifically, because it makes a difference if you know that there are police officers that are kicking your door in and then you shoot at police. That's a totally different thing than you just thinking your door got kicked in and you're protecting your house. Right?
So then either one of those goes right back to the point that the guy that signed the warrant and the guy that fucking wrote up the warrant did it wrong.
Correct.
Because if in that situation where it was me and you, Brad, you didn't know. We were told they have a no-knock warrant. We're supposed to do this because of the danger of us coming in. That's what the police report said. Again, and not written by me or you.
Yes, and really quick, I just want to touch on what Brad said, because what Brad said is something very profound. When he talked about racism, he said even though you can't necessarily prove it, right? It's something that you just know, like as a black person. And I'm there too. Like I know what you're talking about. It's very hard to articulate or to get somebody that hasn't experienced any racial shit to understand. And so I understand what you're saying, but Brad, where I guess where I'm disagreeing with you at is because I'm about 70%. I feel like there's some racial injustice involved in this Breonna Taylor case.
Absolutely.
But it's just a feeling. It's just a feeling. We don't have any concrete proof that that's what it is. Again, the chief of police was black. And not only that, but we can't go arresting police officers off of feelings. You see what I'm saying? And that's what would the charge be? What would the charge be?
They just want to get some justice. They want to get some clarification. They want to get some process so that way we can have a better understanding on exactly what took place. And once we arrest those officers, then we can start to trickle down effect. And then, you know what's going to happen? Okay. It's going to start to roll up and then that's what they don't want.
Here's the issue.
Who's they?
If we go after
powers that be.
If we go after those cops and you take them to court, they're gonna get off.
Hey, that's actually okay, because I think what Brad's saying, and I do think there's value in this. There definitely needs to be charges, or at least there needs to be a clarity on what the circumstances are. Because I do agree, and I think Brad brought up a good point here. If you can have this discussion where all of a sudden the people in the higher ups, you start getting them being like, oh shit, if this could roll down on me, it's funny because I would actually be more for, we talked about qualified immunity the other day. I would be more for you being able to sue that judge who signed off on that warrant than you suing the police officer, because the judge has the power. Like get so frustrated because everybody takes it out on the people that, now, yes, that dumbass. And again, Brad, just in case you don't know, on my show, I've never said the dude's name. Okay. That's put his knee on,
George Floyd's
neck. I've never said the officer's name because I just feel like he's not even worth me saying his name. I don't want him to be, get his name out there. No more publicity. Yep. So him, yes, of course. In those situations, that guy accountable, throw him in jail, lock him away.
Can I say something real quick? One of my favorite movies of all time is City Hall with Al Pacino. Have you guys seen that movie?
Mm-hmm. It's a great movie. Great movie.
Been a long time.
Do you guys not see any? It's subtle correlation to what's going on here. A judge let off,
yeah.
And what did Al Pacino say? You got to go with me on this one. You gotta. The judge had to be the one to take the fall, right? Because it's bigger than it's bigger, and I think it's profiling. I think it's racial. I think it's deeper than what people are calling for when they say arrest the cops. It's deeper than that. But I think that's what they're asking for. And I think that is going to be the first step. Let's get to that first step. And I think that's what people are calling for. Nobody said yet arrest the judge, which is what Kenny is saying, right? You're saying arrest the higher ups. Kenny's going a step further. Am I not mistaken?
Yep. I think the judge should be the one on trial in terms of having to prove that warrant was sufficient for him to sign. I don't know if it was a judge magistrate, not a judge, but
it was a judge magistrate. Yeah.
Okay, I think so. Thought so too. But
do you really think? Do you really think it's going to? Do you really?
Do I think his head will roll?
So this is the thing. So and really quick, I don't think. So in fact, NFAC and anybody else that wants to see answers, the black community, so to speak. It's been so long, nobody's been arrested. There's been no there's just so many question marks that the black community just wants some sort of answers. In fact, just wants some sort of answers. Even if somebody and so and I think we all, even Brad, I think we all pretty much agree here that maybe we could arrest the officers, but would that be the most efficient thing, right? And I think it would symbolically just say, okay, things are moving forward. Okay, we're doing something, we're investigating, but we don't really need symbols at this point. I think to arrest the judge, to arrest the lead investigator, to arrest, anybody that had anything to do with the intel or the recon process, it was all botched.
So but that's not going to happen, Glenn. That's not going to happen.
But here's the thing. And so what do you think about this, Greg?
But you're right. Realistically, it probably won't, but it could.
But I'm going to tell you, let me tell you what the right wing would say, where I'm more left than to where this white ring is, but I hear him enough. The problem is going to be, it's going to be very hard to convince a segment of the country. And I know people are going to go, it's racism. It's like, but no, they're going to have an issue with the fact that we went through with everybody was like, oh, well, if this guy gets charged, he got charged. Well, if this guy gets found guilty, he gets found guilty. They still burn the city down or attempted to. So it's if you're going to come up with something and they come up with a clear demand, which I hope they will. Okay. And if their demand is the cops, then, again, you have to have enough evidence. You can't just charge them on, and again, I think believe it or not, I actually think it'd be easier to charge the lead investigator because his name's on the warrant. To me, I'll tell you exactly who to arrest. We'll have to pull the warrant back up, but I'll tell you both the people on that warrant, the judge and now, are they going to do that? No, but demand that. I mean, if you're going to say, hey, do this, or we're burning down this building. Hey, let's put the right people on there because it's hard to start feeding people.
Conversation with those individuals, and I think they mentioned that the call was productive. Is what the terms that they're using.
Okay.
So I think we're going to probably have some resolution here before it gets to the point where I think it's going to be any more. I think somebody said violence, and so I think we're going to have some resolution here very shortly. And I'm optimistic.
And I will say this, right? Outside of my joke about somebody shooting themselves, which, full disclosure, I've gone on YouTube and watched a bunch of people shoot themselves on accident. I'm telling you, Plaxico Burress is probably pissed off because he lost half a season and spent a year in jail for an accidental discharge of a weapon. But outside of that, they have done a much better job than these other groups that have been protesting. They have. If they've had that discussion, and I hope I didn't read that, Brad. So if you got anything on it, send it over to me. I'll check it out. But
yeah.
But I hope it does. And if it does, maybe I'm not against non-violent but militant. Like if that makes sense, like shows of force. I'm okay with that. I have a lot bigger problem with just walking around throwing, lit on fire cocktails at buildings and writing all over them and trying to burn everything down. With no demands. So again, but that comes back to Glenn, the conversation we had about organization, so maybe, Grandmaster Jay, maybe he can pivot this if he gets some success in this area. We can actually go through and address some things that definitely need to be discussed that we haven't yet.
Well, I think with this, that's what just really quick.
Yeah, so I was going to say, right? Accountability, right? That's what we need. We need accountability. So not to bring in DNR stuff, but I think the R's tried to bring in some legislation to where if shit goes down in a city, that mayor is held responsible, that governor is held responsible, and guess who decided against that bill?
Well, that's because they're all liberals in those areas. They blame Trump. And then I even had the guy that was supposed to, he was actually going to come on tonight, but he said,
say his name, Kenny.
I don't remember it off the top of my head. I'm bad with names. I'm so bad with names. I apologize. But he's a good guy. What was it?
Kayshawn.
I'm going to say Deshaun. Close.
I All black people's names are not the same.
I knew it. I knew it was coming. I knew it.
All black names sound the same.
But his argument was that it's still white power, and it's like, well, I mean, at the end of the day, if you have a black police chief, a black mayor, a black governor, or Democrat, it's like, well, at some point, one of those people has to take some responsibility. Like, there's no reason. It's kind of like my argument when Obama was in with the executive orders. His focus was not the black community, and that's disappointing because there probably could have been some stuff he could have done. I mean, there's no reason he didn't do the First Step Act. Trump did it through executive order. It easily could have been done. And these, I think sometimes, and it's not that he doesn't care about black people, but the politics becomes more important to these people than caring about lives. And then now all of a sudden, in a voting year, now all of a sudden the Democrats are, oh man, we're really with you. You know, we're all about whatever you're about. Biden doesn't even know what he's talking. Yeah, okay, whatever they're saying.
Hey.
Go ahead.
We have Damien in our chat room right now, and we've addressed this, but let's address Damien's input here. He says when they kicked in the door, they didn't announce themselves as police. So what was he supposed to do? Now we beat this
to shoot. Yes. Then he was supposed to shoot, and he should have killed him.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
That's what he should have done.
There, and like we said earlier, that dude should never have stepped one foot in jail, and thank God he got out as quick as he did.
Yeah.
All right,
He killed the police officer. He should have spent no time in jail, and I would have said the same thing then.
And that's
then
that's what they get for enacting no-knock warrants. That's exactly what.
And we also said that no-knock warrant.
Still said the judge should be held accountable.
Kenny. See, that's that white privilege. We can't say we want the judge to go to jail. Like I like that.
Say it, Brad. You can say it here.
No.
You can say it, Brad. You can say it here, Brad.
No, Kenny. I would love for judges to be held accountable, but that's not going to happen. And we all know everything.
I know that too because I've stood in front of a judge and been terrified for my life because I'm a nobody. I have no money. I had no attorney. I didn't even have a public attorney, so I'm even worse off.
But you hear how many of black people stood in front of judges and are locked up for crimes they didn't commit?
How many black people had public attorneys that got them deals that I couldn't get because I couldn't even get one?
You're an anomaly, Kenny. These are all really good talking points. These are all really good talking points.
I'm not saying I've said it on this show before, and again, I know I keep saying that, but I want you to know, Brad, that I've said before that if I'm doing a murder charge, would I rather be with the same attorney? Would I rather be white or black? Of course, I'd rather be white.
Well, after you get Burger King or before? What after you get Burger King?
Oh, is it going to take me to get Burger King? It's the same guy. Is he getting us both Burger? Popeye's Burger King? Is that a burger joke?
He's getting the black guy church's chicken.
Yeah.
He's taking the black guy to Bojangles.
As long as he don't get me a fake beef burger, I'm good.
He's taking the black guy to Bojangles.
But look, I understand there's some inequity, and I've said that, and those things should be addressed. But I believe that they have to be addressed within people. I mean, let's be real. If a guy is a black judge, do you think would you be easier if you're a judge? Would you be easier on black people or white people? You don't think you'd have any bias there?
Well, first off, we know that it depends on the judge in the Meek Mill situation. So you do have some judges who are out to prove themselves. Some judges are looking at bigger, loftier goals.
For sure.
But I think what you need judges who understand the plight of the people that they're actually are hearing over, or judging over, because they understand what's going on systematically within that upbringing and say, this is not a bad person. I don't think this person needs to have the key thrown away. That is the first line of defense that I think that we need to make sure that we call to attention. Because we do have black judges.
I agree. Do you really think an 80-year-old judge is going to understand your plight?
I know for a fact they're not.
So then what you want to do? Fire every judge? I always feel like they don't understand my plight either. But
at the end of the day, when you're being judged by somebody, you're being judged. And you got to also understand, too, the reason why judges aren't so easily able to be held accountable are because these judges are appointed. They are appointed. They're not regular people. They didn't just
most are voted, not appointed though. After the 3 years or after 2 years. After 2 years, and that's where we all have to. If politically you want to make a a really good argument. Let's all focus on judges every time 2 years after, and we can make substantial changes in that. Now, the problem is,
changes, for sure.
The only problem is, and this is what I was just saying to King Brad, is that you're just going to replace one 80-year-old white guy most likely with another 80-year-old white guy.
And that's need to change.
Right, but how does that change? Well, first of all, the way it changes is by having black attorneys, right, that gain prominence. And then you also have, I mean, think about this. We have a black Supreme Court justice. That guy's been nothing but ripped from the black community. Well, then why would black people want to grow up and be judges if this guy, because he's conservative, he gets hammered?
Did you not bring him up? Did you? Oh, my God.
Hey, so we got another comment coming up right here from Jamie, right? Bringing it up right now. Hey, Kenny.
I just saw that.
You keep comparing yourself to all these black guys in the criminal justice system. Do you really believe it's the same?
No.
Thank you, Jamie. I love Jamie.
I don't know if Jamie just missed me say, if I was there and a black person was there, I would rather be me. So that couldn't be, because I literally just said that.
So you just built the whole argument then. Everything is done then.
No, because the difference in what you're talking about, everything is not racist. There's just because in that situation, but me being white, I couldn't have a public attorney. So it depends on the unique. Right.
Racist.
And everything is racist is something a black person would say. Yes, that's the same thing.
Kenny,
do you know how it is to be white, Brad?
Redlining to listen.
Hold on. First of all, redlining. Let's discuss redlining, because that is the most misused thing in the history.
It's real. It's real.
Hold on. It's not that it's not real. Why was redlining done, Brad?
When it's blood on the streets, bye. Do you know what that means? Have you did your research on that?
Yeah, are you kidding me? My business partners own real estate. I know how this stuff works.
Okay.
I want to hear Kenny's. I want to hear your definition, Kenny, of redlining.
Redlining is what they did.
Why do you think redlining was?
So what they did was, and this goes back to Brad earlier when he was saying that poor and black means the same thing, and I was disagreeing. But
yeah, I don't agree with that.
But I said substantially, because of the demographic, that is going to play a part. So back in the day, what happened was they tightened up the restrictions on lending. So when they tightened up the restrictions on lending, people got very nervous that the banks were not going to lend any more money. So what they did was they took a red pen, that's where the term redlining comes from, and they circled the neighborhood that they wanted because it was people of wealth. They did not find black people and then circle them. Now, yes, predominantly the area that wasn't redlined, it was black. But there were black people in redlined areas. Redlining was to say, hey, we can give these people loans. It comes down to, it's the same thing with like credit scores and saying they're racist. Now, again, if you want to find racism, you can I can sit there. I mean, I'm great at playing devil's advocate. I'll find racism in literally everything. Okay. But it just doesn't mean that was the reason that it was done. It was done to try to protect the money of the wealthy. And that's why it was done. So, I mean, that's just, there's no...
Protect the money of the white.
Well,
because let's be honest with you, man, because
there was more white people that were held out by redlining than black people. So it definitely wasn't race. Poor white people were...
It wasn't?
Yes, there was. Yes, there was.
That's infallible.
No, it's not. I got it pulled up right here because that's something that I'm a real estate investor.
Sure.
So you're exactly right. That's exactly why redlining was created. But it was created knowing that systemically over 2 centuries, the majority of wealth has been held from black people on purpose. The majority of wealth has been kept in the hands of white America.
That was black people's choice. So if you want to have, I know, I just
Tulsa, Arizona was not black people's choice.
Right.
All the times that we built up wealth and white people came and burnt it down, that was not our choice.
Okay, no, that's correct. That's correct. The time in when you're talking about Black Wall Street and the incidents and.
I could bring up a shit ton of them. I mean, we had pulled ourselves up by the bootstraps a lot of times.
Not right now. You can't. Not right now.
What?
There's no black business right now that's getting burnt down by white rednecks to keep money out of the black community. Black communities could certainly come together. They have chosen as a community to not do it that way. Jews have done it that way. Lots of people who are very, very heavily criticized have gathered their money, even Jamaicans do susus. You have all these different demographics. I want to say
I agree with that.
There's like African women are one of the most successful demographics in America because they all pool their money together. All I'm saying is that
today. You mentioned today.
I'm talking about
today. Today. Yeah, absolutely. Today.
Correct. Brad was talking about redlining today, I thought.
Well, redlining the effects of redlining from the 60s are still linger today. It's very small, but the effects of redlining still linger today.
Well, you could say the effects of everything.
I'm talking about the redlining from the 60s that was done. It was.
Well, no, the redlining was done in the 20s or 30s.
But he just said it wasn't.
Continued on. Redlining finished in like the year Martin Luther King was assassinated, like 68, 70 was like the end of redlining, and you saw more of it on the West Coast, out in LA, and the Watts riots. And
I was saying that redlining.
That's all redlining.
Correct. And what I'm saying is that was specifically done to keep poverty, to keep poor people, and to keep the same rich people. Now, those people were white, but all I'm saying is it wasn't like they circled. And again, I said that what's the right word? Percentage-wise, the ratios was more black people in the demographic. It was more white people. White people are a bigger number of people that were cut out by redlining. So lots of people had this happen to them. It wasn't strictly on race lines. And when you hear it, it's often talked as if it was just, got to keep all those black people out. No, they went and they were like, they did. If a black person was wealthy in there, they let them do it. There were wealthy black people back then, and there still are.
I can count them on one hand. Literally.
I mean, I'd have to Google it to find out if you could really count them on one hand.
But you got redlining around Philadelphia, and you had like two famous black people. You had like what was named the boxing champion back in the 40s.
Jack Johnson.
Jack
Johnson had a rack of money, but Jack Johnson was in the 1880s. Yeah, Jack Johnson's one of my favorite people.
Hey, Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson, that's my guy. I've done research on him.
Me too. I love that dude.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, just you want to, Fred, pull up Jamie Burns and says, so you're denying it had nothing to do with race? You will never hear me say that something that has nothing to do.
You just said it.
I never said it had nothing to do with race. I said the primary reason that they did it was based on poverty, not race. Did it affect race? Yes. But no, it wasn't chosen.
I think what you're missing, Kenny, in my opinion, I think what you're missing is the fact that it's easy to disguise things. It's easy to say, yeah, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, or I'm doing that to keep the wealthy in, or to keep the poor out. But when you know that all of the poor are black,
but that's if you're black and you're always
in the book,
then yes, I would think that too. But I've seen.
I'm not always calling it.
I understand that. I'm just saying that.
Listen, can I be honest with you? Listen. I'm a capitalist, but I also see black and white. I see green, but I see black and white.
Here's the problem. Black people do that a lot more than any out of the people that I know. Way more black people judge on race than white people do. It's not even close. And now I'm not saying that there's not justification behind that. We talked about that before one time on the show. Yes, because of slavery and shit, there's certainly reasons. Yeah. Jeez.
So we started with this. And then she's got this one right here.
No, if your credit score was high enough.
Read it out loud. Just read it out. Read the question out loud.
Dorothy Dandridge, lots of people were wealthy and couldn't move into white neighborhoods.
It depends on the neighborhood and the Jim Crow laws at the time, because the Jim Crow laws lasted a lot longer. When redlining began, redlining didn't need to do anything racist. They already had Jim Crow. So black people and white people were not trying to be in the same communities because black people couldn't even shop at white shops. So yes, there's an inherent of racism within the culture, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about redlining specifically. And there was no need for redlining to be specifically racist because there was already policies. And so when people keep bringing up the redlining today, and I'm saying that if people understood So it's almost like something that Kanye West said. And I know everybody wants to dismiss him and everything, but one of the things that he said, and he's exactly.
I think Kanye West is brilliant. I think
he said a lot of really smart things the other night, and he was talking about how you build wealth, and the same thing that Malcolm X was talking about when he talked about you're Malcolm X fan.
Is that where you going?
Yeah,
Agriculture.
Agriculture and being able to have your own stuff, and instead of forced integration, community integration, as opposed to where communities get together and cycle the money through, build the communities. That can happen today. Do you disagree with that, Brad?
That is actually the part of the clip that didn't go viral. That was the part that I was upset about.
Correct. I was mad that didn't go viral either because I thought it was very good. And it's something that, again, that Malcolm X spoke about. There's been leaders time and time again. Louis Farrakhan spoke out about it. And listen, for all those people out there that are going to try to figure out, I can say something that Donald Trump said. Doesn't mean I agree with everything he said. Same with Louis Farrakhan. Same with Malcolm X. Same with Martin Luther King. I go down the list. Okay. I'll say what things I support of that person. But those topics, that's it. I guess I have very high hopes for what I believe can happen in the Black community. I do. I want to fight side by side with anybody who's going to actually build things, because I think that these things can work. I think infrastructure can work. I think in those communities, I think, I heard somebody the other day arguing about the what was the plan that Trump put in place for the opportunity zones. And they said, yeah, but it's white people coming in. It's like, it doesn't matter. If white people come in and build and the value goes up, then as long as those people in those communities, if they're Black, buy up the stuff. Like, learn the saving techniques and stuff. The reason why I was poor was because I never saw anybody with money. So I never learned how to do that. Those things can be taught. That's educational system. There's a lot of things that we do have control over. And I feel like we can't make it work because Redline happened. It's like, Redline was bad.
Well, no. And I don't think that's what anybody is saying. I don't think anybody is saying, we can't do this because of systemic racism, or we can't do this because of the past, or because of the plight. That's not what
I'm not saying.
Nobody is saying that something.
Fred, you've heard people say that exact thing, right? I'm not like, come on, Brad. You've heard people say that, right?
I think the argument is things are much more difficult because of redlining. Things are much more difficult because of these things. Because let's be honest. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out.
That's all.
Okay, 256 years of captivity.
Sure.
And then you release people and you give them nothing, no economic base. So of course, in the early 1900s, Black people don't have shit. They were slaves for 200 something years. So it doesn't take a lot. So it doesn't take a genius to figure out. Okay, well, let's just put a red line around this area to keep the people that don't have shit out, aka Black people, and to keep. I mean, it's simple. It's simple. And you said that policies were already in place.
Y'all would do the same thing, and it wouldn't be racist.
Look, Black rich people do it today. They move into nice, wealthy neighborhoods.
Of course they do.
I live in one. It's gated, and ain't nobody just coming up in here. You know what I'm saying? So it's not a Black thing or a white thing in terms of that where you want to live, but in terms of systemically, like, banking institutions have been known to be racist. This is they've been known to not lend money to Black people. Housing has been known to not rent or sell to Black people. It's a thing. Now today,
was that?
It's not like that. It's not.
I mean, I'm not saying it never happens today.
It's not 100% like eradicated, but it's not really like that today. I would like to think that for the most part, Black people or African Americans have the same opportunities as whites today. You can live in the same places if you can afford it. Things like that. Not 100%. It's not like that 100%. I mean, there's certain places that Jay-Z can't even go to. And at the end of the day, you can be a billionaire, but you're still a Black billionaire. So there's certain
where can Jay-Z not live or go to?
There's certain places that won't have them.
I mean, Barack Obama went to the White House. Isn't that's like the main place on Earth?
There's certain real estate in Florida. There's real estate in Jupiter, Florida. There's real estate in West Palm Beach.
Who owns those? Who owns those? Who owns all the stuff down? Yeah, not white people. Thank you.
All right, so let me ask one last question to the panel before we close and wrap up shop here. All right. So, is it better to teach our Black youth that you're already started behind the 8 ball, that you have no chance of success because America is systemically racist, or
absolutely not? Or
should we start teaching the Black community, the younger kids, hey, don't let your environment dictate. Go ahead and get yours.
Ahead,
Which
Brad.
is better? Which is better?
So
Go ahead,
okay.
Glenn.
look, I'm gonna jump on it first, real quick, just for 2 seconds, and then King Brad can go ahead and take it from there. So Freddie, just to answer that question, no, you don't teach your black kids or any kids for that matter that you're just a victim of circumstance or a victim of your environment or any sort of victim for that matter. You know, you want to teach your kids and your children that they always have control, to always hold themselves accountable, to always, you know, they are the purveyors of their dreams. And they can be anything that they want to be. I mean, my family, I'm a testament of it. You know, my parents didn't raise me to think, oh, because I'm black, you know, I'm not going to be able to do this or have those opportunities. Now, in reality, was that a reality? Like maybe I wasn't able to have certain opportunities. Sure, I think that was probably a reality. I don't, in certain instances, you know, not a lot of things. But, you know, you want to raise your kids to think that anything is possible and they can do anything with hard work, good, solid family values, a solid foundation. Anything in America, especially in America, is possible. And that's the other part too, guys, is like when you hear people talking about America or even criticizing America, like as citizens, we're allowed to do that. You're allowed to criticize America or anything, and it doesn't mean that you don't like your country, or it doesn't mean that you're not patriotic or anything, or it doesn't mean that that you don't recognize your American citizenship or any of that crazy stuff. Like you can criticize something and still have the utmost love for it. And as a matter of fact, I think that criticizing something shows that you have more love for it. But yeah, no, you tell your kids that they can do anything.
Hey, King Greg, go ahead, man. Give me your response, brother. What do you got?
Real quick. You got to have education. I think we definitely should educate our youth on where they've been, even before slavery. Let them know exactly where they originated from, who they are. I think you should let them know present day America, what you can achieve and attain once you understand who you really are. I think it's very important that we don't dismiss things that happened in the past just by saying, hey, this is America. This is the land of the free. You could do this. You could do that. Yes, I understand all that. I get all that. But we still got to make sure that we don't skip any steps in the process when we're talking to our youth. That's the most important part. And I'll be real brief. That, to me, to go to Glenn's point, I think we should definitely have those conversations. And they hurt. They sting. But we definitely need to let them know exactly. America, like I said before, it is a country, yes, that you can pull yourself up by the bootstrap, ragged dick, right? Horatio Alger, right? Pull yourself. It is a country you can do that. But if you don't know how to play the game, you're going to lose every time. So be best friends with Milton Bradley. So you can know how to play the game.
Hey, Kenny, what do you got, brother? Thanks, King Brad.
First of all, I'm going to point out a situation that happened to me just this week. I was talking to a lady. She was African-American. I was putting this desk together, and I was talking to her about politics a little bit. And I had said, you know, how do you teach your child? You know, he's 7 years old. How do you teach him about whether, you know, cops like him or not? And he walks in and he goes, I don't care who doesn't like me. And I just thought that was the greatest statement from just a little kid that had a big ass grin on his face. Because you look, it's not that racism doesn't exist. Of course it exists. And hopefully that's going to change. That only is going to ever change from in here. You look at Thurgood Marshall, Booker T, Malcolm X, and I encourage people to look up Dick Night Train Lane. This dude was a black dude born when they had very limited rights. This dude was found in a dumpster. Okay. To this day, in a 12-game season, he still leads the NFL in interceptions in a season. His story is incredible. Hopefully somebody does a story about it one day. My point is that, you know, there's people that are born with no limbs. There are people that are born in substandard conditions. Horrible, horrible, horrible. In this country alone, you are blessed to be here. Now, I know it's easy to go, oh, well, you're white, so you're up there. And it's like, well, okay, but Jewish people are up here. Indian people tend to have money up here. I mean, there's always going to be inequity. So we can focus on legislation and we can focus on caring about one another. And I think that's going to be the best way to do it after this.
Hey, King Brad, so we're going to end the show here in a few minutes. You want to give us any kind of closing arguments, anything you want to say to your fans out there?
Hey, one of the things I admire about the Jewish community is their slogan, never forget. And I think that should resonate with black people as well when it comes to slavery, is never forget. I don't believe we should play the victim role, but I also think we shouldn't forget how we were mistreated and how we build the country up and how black privilege is a thing of the now and a thing of the past that we are going to start to bring out more and more. If you can have white privilege, we can have black privilege, and we can coexist with our privileges. Ventilators every Wednesday.
All right.
Oh, yeah, hold on.
Thanks, King
Give Brad 10 seconds if he wants to tell people a little bit about ventilators since he came on.
Real quick. We have
Go
a
for it.
platform where we allow people to come on and vent. It's just not me and my partner, Kelsey Cooper, talking. We allow people to come on and talk about different topics and different ideas that they may have. It gets spicy in the chats, just like on here, and we encourage that. We just don't like the name calling to a certain degree, but we definitely like people to get spicy. And it's on IG Live. I am King Brad. At Kelsey Cooper, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's really a good platform for you to come on and vent. Kenny's been on many a times. He actually keeps the chat crazy and jumping, spicy, as we call it, because he actually has different viewpoints. So we just encourage anybody to come on and support. It's a growing movement. And like I said, thanks to you guys for allowing me to come on tonight.
All right, King Brad. Appreciate you, brother. Hey, Glenn, you're up, boss. What you got for the closing arguments?
Well, again, thanks for being with us this evening, guys. Happy Monday. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Thanks to King Brad for being on with us as well. Make sure you guys head over to Ventilators and check out their podcast. Pretty interesting stuff. And, in my opinion, I think that, like Brad said, they keep it nice and spicy over there. I do like it when Kenny jumps on there because, Kenny has he brings the other side, of course, and so I'm sure he keeps the chat room jumping. And of course, we like that and we encourage that same thing as well too. So make sure you check out King Brad over at the Ventilators. Really quick, I know most of our discussion this evening was about militias, black armed militias, mainly the ones that we saw in Louisville over the weekend. And then we have NFAC, Not Fucking Around Coalition, and the name is like it's hard. It's a hard name. So just because of the name, everybody's probably not going to jump on board. I personally really like what they're doing, and I actually enjoy to see an organized militia kind of acting in the way that that the Muslims were acting back when Malcolm X had to, use his power and use quote unquote force, if you will, to have people, to have his brothers released from prisons and things like that were being mistreated, that needed hospitalization and that sort of thing. So organized black people is always going to be a good thing, in my opinion. I am definitely down with my Second Amendment rights, and I love to see it. My only thing, and we didn't really get to talk about it on the show, and I just want to touch on it real quick, just to play devil's advocate here, because Donald Trump did send a lot of federal troops. He's beginning to send federal troops to more cities as we continue to see defacings of statues and things like that. And so I know there's been an argument out there that are the federal troops kind of, are they just being deployed to do the bidding of the president, which would be in a sense fascism almost. If they were doing more than just, I guess, protecting federal buildings. So with Grandmaster Jay Johnson and INFAC, with them protesting and marching armed, is it the same? Can it be looked at in that same sort of light? Can it be looked at like, here we have a bunch of armed black people trying to force city of Louisville to do something, or trying to force a certain result out of the judicial branch. And that, in a sense, can be what would be called reverse fascism. So I don't think that that's the case. Again, I like what INFAC is doing, but I just wanted to kind of throw that out there, give some food for thought, let people kind of think about, because there's various different militias out there. You got the 3%ers, which is a right wing, all white militia group. You've got, BLM, which I wouldn't really consider a militia, more so a movement. But INFAC is definitely a militia. They're armed as well too. And these are certain things that you just definitely want to think about and keep in mind. So I hope you guys chew on that for a little bit. We look forward to coming back, seeing you guys on Wednesday. It's going to be a lot to talk about. Again, thanks to Brad for coming on out. And I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Kenny.
Okay. So a couple things. One, we didn't get into it today. It got broke up. But, I was going to read off that there are, they call the 3%ers a right-wing group, but there's actually no evidence of it. Per anything that I've seen and looking into it, they're just people that want to be protectors. So currently, based on what I've read, I didn't see anything right wing about it, really. They don't care what political party you're in. They just want to be able to protect certain things. We didn't get to it today either. Masks. Here's the deal. Somebody brought this up earlier to my attention. And look, I'm not a big fan of wearing a mask. I try not to wear it if I don't have to in certain instances. But as a country, we've had such a problem just coming together on something, for the next month, just wear one. Do I think it's going to affect anything? I personally don't. But look, just wear one. I mean, at this point, it's like, I mean, what's the point in arguing over it? You know, if it is probably just basically optics, but why not? Let's just all wear them as optics for a month or 2 months, and you know, let's all wish for the best. I do think I like the idea of never forget. I also think it's important to note that I've never heard a Jewish person complain about a German guy in my entire life, and I knew lots of them. So while you never forget, prepare like you're never going to forget, and like you're never going to allow that to happen again in any circumstance, and build your strength through that with your community. That part of it, I completely agree with. I'm really thankful for Brad coming out on the show today, King Brad. Glad that he came out, and encourage everybody to go check out the show Ventilators. I know it's on Wednesdays, Fridays, I believe as well. But definitely check that out. And that's all I got for you guys. And again, thanks for coming out tonight.
Hey, awesome show, guys. Episode 23. Again, King Brad, awesome. Thank you for your comments tonight, and bring in your crowd too, man. They lit up the chat room. They had it on fire tonight. I appreciate it. We all do. America, stay safe. You know, like Kenny said, just wear your mask, pick your battles. This isn't one that we need to fight over. All right. Let's just nothing but love. Hey, appreciate you again. We're going to get out of here, and we'll see you on Wednesday.